Before we do roll call, I would just like to say that it's wonderful to see all of your actual faces again. So the only thing I would remind you, if you do not feel comfortable in not wearing a mask, feel free to do so. And keep in mind the land trust's policy is for those who are not vaccinated. We encourage those not vaccinated to continue to wear a mask. But for those who are vaccinated, feel free not to wear a mask with any of the land trust facilities. So, Ma Bell, I'll turn it over to you for roll call.
Acadia.
Present by proxy.
Andover A. Absent. Andover B.
Present by proxy.
Andover C.
Present by proxy.
Andover E. Absent. Andover F.
Present by proxy.
Andover G. Absent. Andover H.
Present by proxy.
Bedford B. Absent. Oh, sorry, and I skipped Miss Ricky. Andover I. Oh, you didn't, yes.
She signed in.
You signed in, Miss. I have to skip you, Miss Vicky, because you're here. So basically, I'm calling the absent.
Or proxies.
Yes, or proxies. Bedford B. Absent. Bedford C.
Present by proxy.
Bedford D. Absent. Bedford F.
Present by proxy.
Bedford G.
Present by proxy.
Bedford J. Absent. Cambridge A.
Present by proxy.
Cambridge B.
Present by proxy.
Cambridge C.
Present by proxy.
Cambridge E.
Present by proxy.
Cambridge F. Absent. Cambridge H.
Present by proxy.
Cambridge I. Absent. Cambridge J. Absent. Cambridge K. Absent. Cambridge L. Absent. Cambridge M.
Present by proxy.
Canton Court D.
Present by proxy.
Devonshire.
Present by proxy.
Dorchester B.
Present by proxy.
Dorchester C.
Present by proxy.
Dorchester D. Absent. Fairfield A.
Present by proxy.
Fairfield B. Absent. Fairfield C.
Present by proxy.
Fairfield D.
Present by proxy.
Fairfield E.
Present by proxy.
Fairfield F. Absent. Fairfield G. Absent. Gloucester B.
Present.
Two and present.
So do you want your, so take proxy out? Do you want to go by proxy or?
You go by proxy.
Okay, so present by proxy and present.
Gloucester C. Absent. Gloucester D.
Present by proxy.
Gloucester E.
Present by proxy.
Gloucester F. Absent. Gloucester G. Absent. Gloucester K.
Present by proxy.
Gloucester L.
Present by proxy.
Gloucester M.
Present by proxy.
Gloucester N. Absent. Highgate A. Absent. Highgate B.
Present by proxy.
Highgate D. Absent. Highgate E. Absent. Highgate F. Absent. Highgate 2.
Present by proxy.
Highgate 3. Did you have Highgate 3? Mm-hmm. Absent. Highgate 3, absent. Highgate 4,
Present.
By proxy.
You're going to use your property? Sure.
Huntington, absent. Idlewood,
Present by proxy.
Lancaster 2, absent. Lancaster 3,
Present by proxy and present.
Lancaster 4, absent. Lyndhurst, absent. Manchester 1, absent. Manchester 3, absent. Nantucket 1,
Present by proxy.
Nantucket 2, absent. Nantucket 3,
Present by proxy.
Nantucket 4, last name please. Nantucket 5, absent. Oxford 2, absent. Princeton, absent. Quail Pass, absent. Radisson 1,
Present by proxy.
Radisson 2, absent. Richmond, absent. Southampton 1,
Present.
last name please.
Daniels.
Southampton 2,
Present by proxy.
Tremont 1,
Present by proxy.
Tremont 2,
Present by proxy.
Villeroy,
Present by proxy.
Worlington,
Present by proxy.
and Yorkshire. Absent. Mr. President, you have a quorum of... Yes, sir?
I don't know if I hear it, but I'm not so clear. Age.
If I did not call your name, sir, it means you're present. If I did not call your association, you're present. You're welcome. Mr. President, you have a quorum of 69.6% with 74 association and 3,830 units.
Thank you, Morel. Therefore, I will call the meeting to order and ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mike, you wanted to say something?
I did. Mr. President, I would like to make a motion that an item be added to the agenda for today's meeting.
And the item?
Would be patterns of behavior.
In what regard?
in a lot of regards, but it affects the membership.
But you said patterns of behavior. In what regard?
Board behavior.
I second the motion.
He's making a motion. It's a membership meeting. Mabel, how many votes do we have by proxy? The problem is you're asking for a motion and there are people not present that cannot vote on that motion. So I have almost 2,000 votes by proxy that would not be able to vote on your motion. Therefore, your motion would be out of order because no advance notice was given of the request to do a motion, and the notice of the meeting has been out for at least 10 days.
Someone called point of order. I don't know if it was on me or on you.
Pardon?
Someone called point of order. I don't know if it was on you or on me.
I have no idea. Are you a president?
No,
Pardon?
no, but I pay my fees here.
Then you cannot call a point of order. The only people that have the authority to call a point of order be a president from the floor.
What are you afraid of?
That's okay. I'll pick a different venue. It can't be controlled. Thank you.
You want to stay point for it?
Mike, you can always put it on the next meeting agenda. Before we get into management reports, Matt, would you come down here for a moment? Rudy, would you come down here for a moment? And Ginger, would you join them in front of the group? And I know you know nothing of this. So. These three individuals basically are the management team that run Vesta. Ginger's general manager, Rudy handles the facilities, and Matt has turned into, in the last 14 months, a jack of all trades. He didn't do what he was hired to do. He basically took all questions, concerns, and issues. Now that we are open, these three individuals and their entire staff kept Kings Point operating to the fullest extent that we could. They made sure that communication was continually provided to the membership through almost weekly emails, worked with the Federation Board and the Land Trust on setting the rules and capabilities of operating with Kings Point. And I think they deserve our gratitude for all the work they did. So thank you three very much, and would you please pass along to your staff our gratitude. And with that, I will accept a motion for the approval of the April 19th minutes. Margaret Hamilton. Maureen Hamilton, I'm sorry. What? April 9th. Maureen Hamilton. And it was seconded. Rick seconded. You can't. Rick Massonay seconded. In regard to proxies, are there any no votes? Are there any objections from the floor for the approval of the April 9th minutes? without objection, instead of everyone having to go through an entire roll call, we will consider the minutes of the April 9th meeting approved. I will take for a motion for the April 16th membership meeting. Okay. Second? Yeah. Okay. There are no objections by the proxies. Are there any objections from the floor? With no objection, we will consider the minutes approved unanimously. And we will move to, and by the way, thank you very much, because going through the roll calls for every single organization, they do take time. With that, I will turn over the meeting for the manager's report, and the first person I'll call up is Ginger.
Look at all of you out there. It's nice to see everybody back again. We'll start off with, oh, ahead of them, hold on.
I got you that confused.
No, go up the slideshow at the top. There we go. Head in advance. Alrighty, here we go. So total clubhouse usage for April, over 32,700 per day, and you can see 44% of that usage was at the South Club. You'll see that climb more. That was after we had reopened the food and beverage that had been closed down for a while. Total clubhouse usage just through the pandemic, since we were tracking it in July, just shy of 200,000. Which, when people would say, well, there's nobody in the clubhouses, there actually were, obviously limited amounts compared to normal, but it's some of the data is kind of nice to verify what was going on out there, which we were aware of, but maybe the rest of the community was not. In fitness usage for April, just over 6,800 visits, which 30% of those still conducting their fitness programs at the South Club. Water class attendance, you can see 45% increase over March as the water warmed up. And the land class attendance, a huge increase there, but a low number. We had just begun bringing back our group exercise programming. We've been asked, when is Zumba coming back? When are some other things coming back? They will. We've got to get the instructors back in and planning those. So as we are open now, you'll start seeing more of those. And then just some shout out on the fitness group. They produced 125 YouTube videos. The views don't look very high, but that's because we can only track those through YouTube. We can't track them on the website, so we think that number is probably double or triple, because we know just from the people using it how excited they were to have the opportunity to do their fitness programs over the last year in the comfort and safety of their own homes. In the salon and spa, you can see a decrease there. And for April, that's a little unusual, but we lost a very, very popular massage therapist who had a very strong following, and we have struggled to get a new hire in. We are seeking that out with all the avenues we have, and hopefully we can get her on board and get that client base back in the door. Those are very critical services for a lot of our members who rely on massage therapy for quality of life. Food and beverage area, you can see total patrons served over 6,700. An increase over prior month, like I said, because the prior month had the closures. And Portico Pickup still running strong with over a quarter of those sales in a program that, as I've said before, probably won't go away. You all have been quite vocal about your pleasure at being able to just drive through and pick something up instead of having to dine in. On special event information, Matthew and his team have the next Concert for a Cause it's in the planning stages. Movies will begin in this theater on May 26th. That'll be the first time in over 15 months for that. The room lottery begins again. If you are part of those groups that do put in for the lottery, the forms are due back by May 31st to Tosh and her team in the business office. Special event staff has already begun working on the framework of getting back to the series and the movies, the expos, and all the shows. So these are things that you can't just flip a switch and make happen. You have to work with the acts that are touring, who's out there, what bands are available, etc. So it'll take a little while for them to ramp up. And as most of you are aware, the second vaccine dose for the Moderna vaccine, this was the second distribution program that was conducted in Kings Point, took place yesterday. 265 doses provided. Okay, turning the page to projects, main clubhouse and south clubhouse surveillance camera enhancement project. The cabling's completed. We're undergoing the final installations of the surveillance software, and IT is nearing completion. So after that gets up and running, there'll be training. This is a forensic system, meaning if somebody trips and falls, something gets stolen, etc., we can go back and view the video. Also, the Sheriff's Department periodically will ask to see some film of, let's say, a bad guy that came through the gate or something like that. So we'll have the ability to provide that to them. In the theaters, this theater, the main clubhouse sound system project is scheduled to begin mid-June. We hope, all of you cross your fingers out there. You might have read there's a shortage of microchips and electronic parts from overseas, and a lot of the vendors are experiencing delays with getting parts together. So, like I say, cross your fingers. Hopefully that will take place in mid-June. Moisture intrusion testing has been completed. I just don't have much to update you on. We're struggling with getting some engineers. We're actually turning and going into the colleges, USF, to talk to some people in the academic setting to see if we can get some consultants to come in and give us some advice on that. Very complex, very involved project, figuring out where water is coming from, and if we go to lay tile or do the renovations that are scheduled in the reserve, we don't want to put that down if it's going to continue to buckle and have a problem. So we're working on it. Kind of embarrassing to keep telling you that, but we are, and hopefully we can have an answer in the near future for you. On the current year, 21-22 projects, Victoria and her maintenance group are off to the races here. The indoor pool deck resurfacing project is begun. We're hoping to get that open by Memorial Day weekend. South Club roof replacement project. I'm sure if you've been to the South Club, you recognize that is quite a big beast of a project. There's 75% of the demolition has been completed with about 37 sheets of damaged wood removed. Sounds like a lot, but it's far under what the estimate was, so we're happy with that. The South Club's pool deck expansion project, this was a special project that the board approved, that the ad hoc committee of the RFEC worked on for I think a couple of years on this. We've had an architect, a mechanical engineer, plumbing engineer, as well as an electrical engineer, all out doing their work on that. The survey has been completed, and we've gotten some recommendations back about taking those two non-utilized cabanas. We're going to form a tiki bar there, and some of the other work that has to be done before we can get to the construction phase. The catering kitchen at the South Club, that tile floor replacement project is to be completed during the month of June. Costs have gone up in the construction industry. Again, everything's going up, but we had to go back to the board and ask them for a little more money, and they, I believe, are under the mindset of formally approving that in their June meeting. The Jubilee partition door replacement project bidding process is completed. Jubilee Hall will be undergoing a total renovation with the wall replacement, the floors being repaired or replaced, and the painting and decor. Following behind that will be painting of the interior of the clubhouse. Clubhouse is over 20 years old, and this was the big year for the South Club, so you'll see a lot of work throughout the year going on down there. And then finally, a replacement of a 25-ton unit. They can't put that up on the roof until the roof replacement is finished down there. So lots of work going on, lots of staging, and I'll just keep you up to date on those projects as they unfold. Next slide. On transportation here, we had 11% decrease in ridership over the month. Residents using the tram over 500. And in security for April, we had over 10,000 phone calls. Average call volume per day, 337. Passes issued, an 8.7% decrease because that always happens after the spring break month. You'll see a drop there. And 27 incident reports written. Next page, Keith. Just a couple notables here. Security patrol observed and reported some large trees uprooted. I believe a big storm came through, and there was one at the South Club we had behind 2020. I had reported that they had all been cut and debris was removed. I was informed some of the debris was not removed, so we were working with, I believe, the master and some of the other landscapers to make sure that was all taken care of. And then finally, a relative called the gate, concerned about their calls not being answered. Security was dispatched. Knocked on the walls, you know, is everything all right in there? Neighbors were contacted, no success. Finally ended up that the brother had been taken to assisted living, but a little bit of a scare before that, not knowing where he was, but they tracked him down and he's okay. And then last slide here, unless you've been living under a rock, you are aware that Kings Point now is fully open and maskless for those who are fully vaccinated. This is the e-blast that went out. I'm not going to read all this, but if you have not been vaccinated, remember the CDC guidance recommends that you continue to wear a mask in all indoor settings. And regardless of your vaccination status, you are still required to wear a mask if you ride the trams. And finally, effective June 1st, guests will once again be welcomed back into our Kings Point facilities. And we look forward to seeing your family and friends at that time. This will be, I guess, our last meeting to report to you all until September, so I wish you all a safe and a healthy summer.
Thank you, Ginger. Keith, you want to do the management report from Property Management Company?
Good morning. It's nice to see so many new faces and back to a little bit of normalcy there. This is the First Service Management Report for May. Just a quick note again on the financials. Oh, I think we've got this. You might be, yep, you're on. Clicker's off. Again, everybody should be receiving their monthly financials for the individual association by no later than the 21st. I know Debbie Lauber likes to get them in, get them out, and get them to you as soon as possible. So some get them sooner than others, so just to keep that in mind. Moving on under the operations, under COVID guidelines, obviously with the opening of the amenity centers, the First Service lobby is now obviously opened and unmasked. So we're going to be having the chairs back. No mask required in the lobby if you've been vaccinated. We're going to keep the death shields up for the ladies up front for the time being, and we're still asking that you know, our services be utilized, like the Dropbox, the phone system, meeting any of your cams inside the conference room for the time being, as this continues to progress along. I did want to make a quick announcement. I didn't want to put her on the spot this morning, but we did have a new cam hired. Miss Jackie Arnold is in attendance, just trying to get her feet wet to see what the Federation is all about here in Kings Point. So we want to welcome Jackie Arnold to our team, and we're going to be sending out a notice to Mixed clap, sorry. We'll be sending out a notice to our board of directors welcoming her and giving all of her information to them. So you'll still have the support of the entire team, Candy and myself, for those boards getting their new camp. But again, welcome Jackie to the team. Next slide. A couple quick stats for the office. Again, for the month of April, there were 61 transfers, so new sales. We did 35 leases. We just had over 4,200 phone calls taken by the front desk. We had almost 1,700 walk-ins into the front lobby. We did 45 new homeowner orientations. There were 138 alteration requests submitted by the unit owners, fielded by the CAMs. We did 54 violations, processed almost 300 invoices through our Avid system, and worked up 17 new contracts. Next slide. Quickly, insurance. We made an announcement last night that the insurance policies for all the associations have been uploaded into your Connect system on your website for your individual association. So you'll have all the policies listed in there. It is under documents and insurance documents on the drop-down tab, so access those. Any questions, please let me know. In addition to that, we did send out a risk assessment with USI. They put together each individual association's maximum risk assessment for their hurricane deductible. It was discussed at last month's meeting to work those numbers up and to give each association the ability to forecast their maximum risk in the event of a hurricane coming in affecting the Kings Point area. So those are some big numbers that were sent out. Again, if you have any questions, please call me. You know, we're happy to come out and meet with your members after the board looks at it. We can bring the agents from USI out and kind of work through what those look like and what that means for your association, as well as discussing with your homeowners on hopefully encouraging them to get individual HO6 policies, which can play a big factor in the event of a storm. Go next slide. Quickly, Community Promotions Committee is still working with the new vendor J2 Studios on building the new Kings Point website. Quick update on the Spectrum speed lift. Again, Spectrum did a speed lift in the southern Hillsborough County area back in December, and they have informed myself and Mr. Tom Murphy that they have notified everybody that needed to upgrade their modem boxes in the springtime, but I'm not sure if everybody has received those from Spectrum, so we're going to be putting together a little communication on how each resident can test their speed and test if their modem needs to be reset, and if it does need those items, how to contact Spectrum to get a free modem drop shipped to your door. So we'll be sending out something that's hopefully an easy step-by-step process, because you have to test your speed online, reset the modem, so there's a little bit of technicality in there. So we're going to try to put something together nice and get it out to the community and hopefully get everybody on to the 200 megabit speed, which was included no charge through Spectrum. Next slide. A couple quick landscaping notes. We're still working with the landscape committee on updating all the contracts for next year, so we'll have all 4 contracts lined up. They're going to be new expectations, new deliverables, and all renewing at the same time. So we're working on that, and we're excited to be announcing that as it comes forward with the Landscape Committee. OLM inspections take place next week, May 24th, 25th, and 26th. Again, if anybody would like to spend some time with Paul Woods with OLM at their individual property, we can set up some time. So please let us know, and we'll coordinate that with Paul. And at least let you have a few minutes to talk to them on any concerns from his angle. Monthly work orders for April were 29. Average days to close out the work order were just under 5 days. Next slide. Palm and oak tree trimming. Again, the new contract with Brown's Tree Service started back in April. They have worked their way through sections 1 and 2 on the hardwoods only. We just sent out a revised schedule yesterday. They're still inside section 3, working on the palms and hardwoods. They're slated to finish that up in the first week of June. They'll move into section 4 and complete the hardwoods and palms in that section. And then they'll loop back around to section 1, then 2 to catch all of their palm trees. And they are scheduled to, unless any other weather factors happen, to finish up by the end of June on all the work. Then it will in fact turn into the monthly maintenance schedule in July. We'll be going around addressing additional palm trees, work orders. You know, we do have teams with Browns Tree and Ryan Ward and myself to check the palm trees that may need attention, or if you see some new seed pods coming or fronds sagging, you know, send a quick work order through. We can tag it on there. It's not our intention to have you guys walking and trying to identify everything each month. So just if you see something out of the norm, let us know, but we'll be checking each of the properties each month to address those palm tree concerns. And you might notice that the palm trees are getting trimmed a little bit, I call it less aggressively this year. So we're working on the 9 and 3 standard. So if you happen to see palm trees that may look, that have extra fronds, that's the design here. We're trying to keep the green fronds on the trees at the 9 and 3 angles, like the hands of a clock. We are going to be keeping them away from buildings, so that is important. You'll see the side that's closest to the building will be flush cut up all the way in order to keep those fronds off the buildings. Helps eliminate pest and roof damage. And just another quick topic, since we talked about the palm and oak tree trimming committee is going to be working with First Service to help just send out some more information on the methodology that's being used with the palm trees and the oaks. A lot of stuff has changed this year, so we're going to be working on sending out some nice updates with that committee shortly. Give next slide. And quickly, the mulch is still being worked on, so that has been delayed for obviously this membership meeting for approval, but we will work on that and getting it out with the board and the attorney. A couple other information. Again, we're coming into the summer months, people are leaving. We always try to encourage people to update their emergency contact form, so please, if you can, you know, get them to call our office. We can update their email, phone numbers. It's very important, obviously, with Ginger trying to get access to units. If they're not responding, it's best to call next of kin if possible, so we try to help out with that as well. After hours emergencies, again, if anybody's experiencing after hour emergency, you just call our direct office number there, 813-642-8990. They get me at all hours and all days, so just feel free to call that in and get that issue resolved. It will come to me and I'll sort it out, whether if it's something for the golf course, the Master Association, or us with the associations, we'll get it handled. I know there was some confusion a couple of weeks ago with an issue that may or may not have been handled properly, or is allegedly handled not properly, but stuff does get called into me, and I do call Hillsborough County for that specific issue, and did speak to them and did dispatch for that issue. There was obviously other concerns with water and drainage, things like that, so I know there may have been some confusion announced at the master meeting, but I just want to try to clear that up, that hey, I get the calls and they're being handled accordingly. Lastly, the community website, we did send out a flyer to all the board of directors encouraging their unit owners to sign up for your association's website. There's a lot of good information on there. We've signed up a good deal of new homeowners. Again, they can access your minutes, any documentation on there. So it's a good way to give people more information. They simply just need to contact the CAM. We send them a link, verify some information, and then they're off and running, and we can help them walk through the website, just kind of give them the highs and lows. So anything you do to put those on your bulletin boards or send those out to your owners, it's helpful to get them the communication they need, and we'll continue to try to push that stuff out day and day. That's all I had at the moment. I did want to turn the floor over to Ryan and give him a few minutes if possible.
Before you turn him over, you were speaking of an incident during the master meeting. Oxford One raised that they had a sewer backup in their community, and that when the call went into First Service for the sewer line, that basically First Service referred that to the master. Could you give us a little more backup on exactly what process you followed and your understanding of the sewer lines?
Well, obviously sewer lines are the part of the Hillsborough County system, which obviously the Association Management Company First Service handles through the water bill. I know that the Master Association does have these storm drainage systems and irrigation, obviously, so as those calls come in, sometimes the information that's passed along or from the unit owner is not always clear. So, but the county, I did call the county and they were dispatched. I think there were also several calls as I was following up with them that people were calling all over into them about the issue. So again, I did respond to the master trying to ask them other information on the issue, as well as if it was an irrigation or drainage system. So again, I didn't want to make a big deal about it. I just want to make sure it's clear that, you know, there is an understanding of what's going on out there. I do field all of the calls for the entire community, and then I do sort it out. So, you know, I get a couple irrigation calls last night. Again, there's a system in place with the master that I send them over information. So again, it's just trying to communicate with everybody to make sure we're all on the same page. And sometimes there's irrigation running, drainage systems, there's sewer stuff, you know, in the yard. So just, you know, trying to make sure everybody's on the same page and knowing what's going on. And again, it's not always clear when you're over the phone talking to either my dispatch or a homeowner. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to turn the floor over to Ryan real quick.
I have a question on it because it's my association. Because I had this issue and I did exactly as it was requested. I had him call when I called my homeowner, I told him to call the emergency contact information. 2 hours later, nothing had been happened that I knew of, and different homeowners were calling me. I called to First Service after hours. They called you. When I talked to you, my recollection of the conversation is you turned it over to the Master Association. Now that's what I remember of our conversation. I realize I am a little older, but that's what I remember of it. What I do remember exactly, though, is I never heard any more from you. There was never any follow-up with me or any of the homeowners that I talked to that have called in as to what had happened. The only one that I ever got a call from was the Master Association. I had 3 calls from them telling me updated statuses and what they were doing because it was going into the lake and contaminated the lake, and they shut down irrigation so that it wouldn't spread sewage on the lawns. So they told me that. The president also called me the very next day and asked me if I wanted him to go down and purchase tape and cordon off that lake so that nobody could fish from it, which I thought was a good gesture. But that is my conversation, what I had with you in direct. I don't want to get into this mess between the Federation and the Master and all of this other stuff. But this was a direct conversation I had with you and my understanding of it. And if somebody else is willing to step up for that, that's fine. I want to see the issue resolved, but I think you have a responsibility to check back and make sure that issue is handled. And I don't feel like that was done. And that's all.
No, there's no need to get in the back and forth with it. I'm not going to get an argument on the membership floor. But I did want to turn the meeting back over to Ryan to address a recent concern with run times, request from the master just to try to clear up some concerns that we're having regarding landscaping. So Ryan, if you want to take a few seconds just to clear that up, please.
There was an email put out asking POCs and presidents to submit run times on irrigation. I would personally advise against this. I'm not going to tell you guys not to do it. I would just advise you not to do it. Reasons for this is increasing run times may not be the solution that you guys need to solve the problem that's going on. A lot of what I see when I'm in the community, I see a lot of these small green oases. What that indicates to me are clogged filters, low pressure, which could be you have competing zones that means the system's not balanced to operate properly. You could have irrigation heads that may be too short and can't get above the grass to irrigate properly. There could be debris in the head of the nozzle, which is preventing the water from distributing properly. And there's several things that could be causing this, and increasing the run times may be detrimental to the healthy turf that are around these areas. And increasing the run times is not going to make the water go onto these areas where the water's not actually hitting. Increasing the maintenance and ensuring that the coverage, the filters are clear, heads can get above turf. That's all things that needs to be happening to make sure that the system's running. Increasing run times could be detrimental to your guys' turf areas beyond what's already happening. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ryan. On Ginger? Alan, do you have a treasurer's report? Okay. No, move on. Liz, I know that Keith gave a more of an extensive report on tree and palm. Did you want to add anything as head of that committee of what you've been doing and what you've seen, or do you think Keith covered it for you?
Yes, Keith did a very admirable job in reporting what the tree committee is doing. But you need to know that our little group, our committee, only began in April, and I'm very proud of the members of that group because of the amount of work and things we've really initiated. Keeping tabs on the Browns trees, progress has been really, the oversight has really been Keith and Ryan's job, and they have done a great deal with it. Keith and Ryan meet with the committee, and yesterday we had Josh Brown, son of the owner, meet with us and talk about a variety of things that they were doing. And at that point, as Keith said, we said, we needed to develop some education information pieces, especially when you're talking about the palm pruning. What does 9 and 3 mean? What is it supposed to look like? And in our discussion, we determined that we would put together these information pieces. We don't know exactly how they're going to go out, or when they will, but we're working on them so that it won't be too long. But use actual pictures of trees in Kings Point. I think that has more meaning than looking at pencil sketches from the University of Florida. And so we can look at the good pruning and the not so hot pruning. So that will be coming forward. And the hardwood pruning, there's been a little confusion, including mine, that the hardwood pruning is in a 3-year process. And so each phase will have a different phase of pruning the hardwoods and different areas of the trees. Right now they're doing especially getting them off roofs. This thing's talking to me here. Getting the branches off the roofs, raising them so that they're not in your driveway, over sidewalks, over the street, getting in people's spaces where they can cause injury. The other things that I think that are new in my experience in Kings Point, and I've lived here quite a while, is number one, with the pruning now, we will have monthly maintenance provided by Brown's Trees. And they will come in, they haven't decided on exactly which week in the month they will do that, but they will come in and pick up on the pieces that have been missed, or that little frond that started to yellow, if it's ready to be removed, it would go. The other thing is Keith and Ryan are doing a follow-up, and it takes a lot of pressure off of POCs whose expertise and expectations are not really professional, and so the onus is not on the POCs, but where it belongs on our landscape specialist and the contract manager. So we've got things coming along, so stay tuned, and there's more to come. Thank you.
Before you leave, Liz, just so, and you may want to just mention it, Liz and the Palm and Hardwood Tree Committee has mentioned to the board that they would like to attempt to have all palm trees within the community all trimmed with the same specifications and the same desire. The board has asked Liz to work with the master and their tree trimming company, and also work with Vesta and their tree trimming company, so we can have some uniformity in the committee. It was a committee and Liz's recommendation. I thought it was a very good idea and a way to move forward and try and bring the community together. Did you want to comment on that at all?
I'll comment if you'd like. Yeah, that's something that the committee has looked at. Our committee is functioning a little bit differently in that we set some goals, and one of them was uniformity of tree pruning in the community, not only the manner in which it's done, but the timeliness, so the entire community looks like it's being tended to at the same time with pruning, etc. And yes, we've worked with and met with Vesta and the master, and when we had our demo, I believe it was the 4th of May, by Brown's Trees, and looking at how the palm pruning would begin and how it would be done, they sent representatives to that demo, and that was very beneficial. So as I said, there's more to come, so stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz, and I have two things. One, I appreciate all the work you've done on the palm and hardwood, and that you stepped up to the plate to run that committee and the work you've done on it. So for the residents, I thank you. And I also know, and for the residents of the community, Liz has been diligently working on the hurricane preparedness and emergency. She has brought in all the different organizations, not only on this side of the street, but also the other, so we have a coordinated plan. And Liz, I want to thank you for all your efforts and time that you have put into that. So I don't know if you want to speak to it, but thank you very much for your efforts on that.
I can just say that the coordination from the Sun City Center Community CERT Preparedness Committee has been willing to take us under their wing, and we have been working together with that to build a relationship so we all know where we're going, and hopefully to have symposiums for all of the residents. And you know, the goal is before, during, and after, and what needs to be done, and residents' responsibilities. One of the things that we've created in Kings Point is called a leadership team. And the leadership of the entities in Kings Point, the COA, the master, the land trust, the federation, etc., all will be putting our forces together so that everybody knows what will be going on and what the responsibilities are for each entity and the contact person. So we're moving forward and playing a catch up, and I really appreciate CERT and the Sun City Committee for taking us under their wing. Thank you.
Alan, are you ready? Okay.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Massaman.
before we leave the hardwood, can I ask a question, please?
If you go over to the mic, you most certainly can.
Rick Massime, president of CASA B. We have a lot of old and large oak trees. Now, they've been trimming them. I know they've been trimming them up off the ground and trimming out the dead branches. However, with the hurricane season coming up, I have previously lived in communities where they've actually thinned out the oak trees to prevent damage from hurricanes or possible topping of these large trees. Has there been any consideration given to the thinning out of these trees to allow them to be able to sustain high winds?
You want to have Ryan answer that, or you answer it, Keith?
I'll answer it since Ryan had to step out. The process over 3 years will, in fact, thin out, as you say, those inside of those oak trees. So a lot of them will have cross branch growths. That is part of the 3-year program to remove those branches, additional sucker and deadwood growth. But this first year, it is major structural pruning off of the buildings, away from light posts, above roadways, and then lifting them up. That is the focus of this first year. I mean, in the past years, you've had the right-of-way just kind of cut back, and they're still relatively close to the building. So this year, you'll start to see a lot more lifting away from the buildings themselves. So, but over the process of the 3 years, it will improve the health of the tree and improve the look and the thinning, as you said, of the tree itself.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it just seems that we might have moved up the trimming of the inside to prevent damage from hurricanes before we worried about trimming up from the ground. I'm not a landscape person, but I do know that these big oak trees can be taken down if they're not ventilated or not trimmed so the wind can get through them. I just have a lot of concern about oak trees. I know a lot of the southern areas are more concerned about palm trees, but our areas are concerned about oak trees.
Will you take that under consideration as you have Brown working through the property?
Right, and our committee is concerned about oak trees and palms. So, you know, there's no preference one over the other. And discussion about pocket pruning and internal pruning of the hardwoods, that's something that certainly Browns should be able to identify if something needs to be done right now. Thank you.
Now, Alan, after long delay.
All right. Hello, all. I'm going to give you the treasurer's report for the fourth quarter, which is the year end for 2021, ending in March 31st. I'm going to just give you an overview here. I'll read the whole thing and then go through the specific numbers as well. The Federation ended 2020-21 with a $71,578 in current assets for members' equity, with an accounts payable of $5,801 and $504,163 in restricted fund balances. The members' equity, though, quickly became $50,680 for next year, as $20,898 was transferred into the reserve accounts to offset expenditures that were approved by the membership in the 21-22 budget. The restricted funds included a $139,737 balance in the insurance deductible fund, the AC2. That leaves us in great shape to start the new year. We had another very good year with only $28,047 in expenditures and $2,511 in revenue, adding to the balance from previous year's insurance adjustment into the insurance deductible fund. The registration fees fund ended with a $134,555 balance. But the balance, again, quickly became $68,268 for the next year, as $62,799 was transferred into the reserve funds, again in accordance with the budget approved by the Federation and the membership. The contracts fund ended with $51,041, mainly from accumulated penalties from landscapers. As you may remember, the Federation used $28,500 in lieu of association assessments for 2 additional palm fertilizations for 2021. The legal fund AC1 ended with the required $28,000 balance. The professional services fund ended with a balance of $83,492. Legal fees were spent investigating several past actions as questions were raised. Some investigation findings were presented to the community, and more will be made in the future. Finally, remaining balances were $30,012 in the landscape fund, $29,988 in the grounds cleanup fund, and $10,338 in the community promotions fund. Next slide. Let me just again highlight the numbers here. As you can see, the total assets ended at $581,542, and that included total members' equity of $71,578. It included the current liability, which is an accounts payable, of $5,801, and this was basically an invoice from Bug Guys that came in and did not get paid in April. So, I mean, it was paid in April, but did not get recorded on the March books. And the reserve fund balance, of course, of $504,163. All right, next slide. You've already got it up there, I believe. Yeah, next slide. As you can see, the budgeted revenue of $151,700. That's the budgeted revenue and all the assessments that associations paid into the Federation books. That, along with the transfer that we'll talk about later from that total then the budget, the $220,000 budget. And as you know, money's collected from the associations. The bulk of the money goes and is passed on to the Master Association, is passed on and paid. The bulk contracts are paid, is passed on and goes to the Land Trust for those activities. And again, the only money that really the Federation handles or pays is that $151,000 plus the $221 budget. Now, in addition to the budgeted revenue, we received $66,722, and that's mainly the transfer fees that have come in. Very small amount of interest and other items came in as well, but primarily the transfer fees that came in above budget. Now, the operating expenditures, as you can see, the administrative operating expenditures, the actual spent was only $1,298, primarily bank charges, filing the corporate annual report, office supplies, insurance, and any miscellaneous expenses. So about $1,300 was spent for that. Utilities, $3,006 was spent. That is for electric, telephone, and trash removal, again for the 1902 building. And contracts, $928, again for the 1902 building, for janitorial and pest control, again for the 1902 building. So total operating expenditures of just over $5,000, $5,232. So that's a small amount. So the next slide shows the reserve accounts. And as you can see, the landscape account, $14,100 was added from revenue, that's from your fees, to get to an ending balance of just over $30,000. The insurance deductible fund, the revenue of $2,511, and that was, again, it's actually from MacMac and Waltz from prior years' audits of insurance policies, that little bit of revenue that came in. The expenditures from the insurance deductible fund were $28,047. That's fantastic. It has been a lot more in the past. And of course, we had a bonus year last year because the insurance paid over $2,500. The deductible was a $2,500 deductible, which had historically been $5,000, and again going forward it will be $5,000. So the insurance company paid for a lot of those that helped to get that expenditure amount low for that insurance deductible fund. Grounds cleanup fund added $15,000 from assessments and from the budget to a total of about $30,000 in the grounds cleanup fund. The legal fund, again, AC had no activity that ended with the required $25,000 balance. The professional services fund, the revenue was $177,800. Now, $68,700 of that was actually transferred in from the registration fees. The rest then, $109,100 was added from fees, the fees from the associations into the professional services fund. And again, the expenditures were all legal fees, $62,561 spent, for an ending balance of $83,492 for the professional services fund. The contracts fund, we spent $28,560. Again, most of that, other than $60 of warranty work, but most of that was for the 2 fertilizations for palms. And that then, we still ended the contracts fund with $51,041. And again, that's next year, we're going to be also funding the 2 additional fertilizations for palms out of that $51,000. Community Promotions Fund spent $13,096 with $10,338 ending balance in that fund. The registration fees, $66,287 was added in revenue from the registration fees. And the expenditure, $68,700. Again, that is the amount that was transferred into the professional services fund. And we still ended then the registration fees with $134,555. So again, a lot of people have been asking, some people have been asking for even the reports of the Federation, what are they spending and worried about. Again, it's a very small amount of money compared to the millions of dollars that are spent on other things that are necessary here in Kings Point. And that's pretty much the end of the Treasurer's report. I did add one more slide I want to show you, and go to the next slide. Just to emphasize, because the budget that was approved did have a number of transfers in it. Rather than raising your fees, there's some balances in the fund that we wanted to transfer in to use elsewhere. So as you can see, the landscape fund, the first one is really where the fund ended at the end of March 31st balance. So landscape fund ended with $30,012. Now, really the new balance, because of the transfers that were done to the budget, $19,988 was transferred into that fund, ending then having a $50,000 balance in that landscape fund. And that was done, those are all done, again, it's there for emergencies in case of, and there had been expenses in the past when hurricanes have come in and storms have come in, and there's some cleanup work and landscape work that was required. So that gives the Federation a $50,000 balance for those emergency things if they come up. The insurance deductible fund, again, is the same, $139,000 goes forward. The grounds cleanup fund, which ended with almost $29,988. The transfer into that fund of $20,012, so that fund also ends now, or begins really the new year, the new 21-22 year with a $50,000 balance. Again, for those emergencies, if something happens, storms require some cleanup. The legal fund is just $25,000. The professional services fund, which ended a balance of $83,492, $22,799 also was transferred into that fund, so that for the new year, there's $106,291 in that fund for any legal or other professional services, accounts and audit and things. Contract funds remain the same. The community promotions fund, which ended with $10,338, we again transferred $20,898 into that fund to give it a beginning balance, or a balance available for 21-22 of $31,236. That's to, again, maintain, most of that is to maintain the website, but then other community promotion ideas that come into play. Now, where did that money, those transfers come from? Registration fees, which ended with the $134,555 balance, $62,799 was transferred out of that fund into really the top three items. To still have a balance, available balance in the registration fees account for 21-22 of $71,756. And then the total members' equity, which ended at $71,578, we transferred $20,898 out of that. That went to the Community Promotions Fund, leaving then a total members' equity available for 21-22 of $50,680. So that's pretty much our report. Any questions? Any questions?
I don't know if they're still awake. That was a joke, Alan. My president report is just going to give you some updates on what is going on with the Land Trust and the Federation for the residents of Kings Point. One, we did receive notification that the new trustee for the Land Trust, that all the documents have been filed, all the deeds for the Land Trust property have been corrected, and the official effective date was the filing date, which was March 5th, and the new trustee for the Land Trust, who holds the title to the property until the loan is paid off, is Kings Point West Trust Co. LLC. We were very fortunate when we had to go find a new trustee that we found a gentleman who owns a trust company, a land trust company, serves about 120 different land trusts. Basically, we were paying about $1,800, a little more than $1,800 a month. The new trustee will be charging the land trust $400 a year. This gentleman who is basically running the the trusteeship for the land trust worked to write the legislation in 2013 on land trust when it was modified in the state of Florida. He is a consultant to the Florida Bar Association on land trust, and he has written 2 books on land trust. So we feel the land trust is in very good hands with this trustee overseeing it. So I just wanted to give you that information. We have already started the audit of the land trust financials. We have received the preliminary year end. The auditor has been working with Vesta on those figures, and we expect to have the land trust audit completed by July 1st, correct, Dan? In addition, because a number of residents have voiced a concern, we are hiring an outside auditor to audit the Federation financials. When I say the Federation financials, I'm speaking of the Federation Board financials, which Alan just went over. we were talking to Liz, who has a wealth of knowledge, and she doesn't remember the last time basically the Federation Board budget was audited. And we basically, in looking back, don't find anything. So we decided it was about time that the Federation budget and the expenses were audited, so that will be taking place within the next month, month and a half, and the Federation budget will be fully audited. And when we have a audited, it's accepted by the Federation Board, that audit will be available to residents the same as the Land Trust audit is done. In addition, over the summer, the Federation Board plans on getting to work on the new landscape contracts, as all the landscape contracts expire next March. We figured that it would be a perfect opportunity for the Landscape Committee to work along with First Service in putting together landscape contracts that are more consistent with the needs of the community and what residents have voiced to us as far as lawn and landscape and the work the landscapers are doing. So hopefully we will have that for membership review well before those contracts expired. One thing that is a problem that has seemed to be consistent, that contracts are basically given to the membership the month before they become effective, and you folks don't really have a great opportunity to review it. Oh, I need this contract approved because the current contract runs out in a month. It's not fair to the residents or the associations of the community to do it that way, and the board has decided, let's get a head start on this and get these things working. And that is basically what the Federation is looking at doing over the summer months. Well, the rest of you folks get to take a relaxation. And with that, I would like to wish you all a happy Memorial Day. I can tell you that we probably will have a special membership meeting called during the month of June, so we can get a mulch contract in place, so we can get the mulch ready to spread for those who want it in the month of October. So happy Memorial Day. With that, do we have anyone who had any open forum? Because we had no item agendas. Therefore, I'd open the meeting up. I'll open the meeting up to goodwill. Vicki, you have a gentleman right behind you that started before you did.
Hi, my name is Rob Davies, President of Gloucester J. I want to talk about the POM contract, and I want to talk about presidents working for a better Kings Point. The first thing about the POM contract, we had a training session about POMs here maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and they certainly did not say to trim the palm trees at 9 and 3. They said a palm tree should look like a ball. A palm tree gets nutrients from the palm fronds as they age. So what you're doing by trimming them at 9 and 3 is you're taking nutrients away from the palm tree, not healthy. I believe the speaker was from either Cooperative Extension or from one of the universities. So I would suggest the POM committee and First Services look at that. And I certainly know that the guy who's got a beautiful Russell palm across the street from me would fight to the death if you want to trim his palm to 9 and 3. And I'd be right there with him, because that's not how our palms are so over trimmed. And if the science is saying a palm tree should look like a ball, not half circle. The other thing, there's a group called Presidents Working Toward a Better Kings Point. Could anybody in this room, including board members, raise their hand if they're members of this group? Is there anybody? No, I'm not a member because I've never been invited to a meeting. I've never been, I don't know who this committee is. Is anybody involved in this committee?
To my understanding, there's no board member who is a member of that committee.
And nobody, is anybody else in the audience a member of this committee? So is this president's Working for a Better Kings Point is a non-existent group?
We wouldn't be able to answer your question.
I worked for state government for 25 years. I was a school board president. I believe in honesty and openness and transparency. And when I get an email from a group, from somebody that says, you know, vote no on something or vote yes on something, I want to know who I'm talking to. I want to have a discussion with that person or persons. And I find it unconscionable that we have this type of secretive type of thing going on, which just keeps feeding this whole lack of trust in our community, that we're picking at one another for no good reason. And I've been involved in writing all kinds of bylaws and regulations and laws for years, and if people aren't happy with a bylaw, there's a process to change it. It's not just stop, don't do anything, and that sort of thing. So I would hope that nobody in the board or nobody in the audience is involved in a secretive group. If this group wants to have a meeting to discuss why we should vote something, let's have a meeting Sunday night. But otherwise, you know, I don't like getting things like this, and I hope others
Okay,
speak up
Rob,
against
your
that.
time is up, and thank you.
Vicki Ryan, Bedford A. On behalf of Sunset Social Club and the fact that Kings Point is opening again, we're going to be at the South Club Pool May 30th. No guests allowed, but you are all welcome until we hit whatever the capacity numbers are. And then after June 1st, we'll be there monthly unless life changes again. So we'll see you then. And there's no capacity restrictions after June. Okay, no capacity. Is that May 30th as well?
Whatever the capacity for that pool is
okay,
what
no
it is.
capacity restrictions as limited, whatever they normally are. I'm going to sit down now, Ginger.
Rich Resnick, treasurer.
Could you identify yourself and your association?
Yes, I just tried. Rich Resnick, treasurer of Manchester 4, and designated membership meeting representative for Manchester 4. I just wanted to compliment, and I know the South Club reno's in progress, but just compliment that new exterior paint job and the new locker rooms. You know, the housing boom we're having now is not going to last forever. This contemporary look is really, really going to help when the housing slows down. And I don't know who's responsible for deciding we needed to go more contemporary, but I love it. I think it's really going to help values around here, and I'm hoping to see it continue to spread across the rest of the community.
I would only say that you have a young lady sitting at the table that basically her staff worked on that, presented the possible colors to the Federation Board, who oversee the land trust. But basically the work that has been done by Ginger's staff. A lot of the work has been done by a young lady by the name of Victoria, who basically goes, picks out colors, brings them in. You've seen the outside. They have plans for the inside that probably you will be very proud of. It'll be updated into current modern colors with current modern amenities within it. So look for more to come, as Ginger said in her meeting, but it is basically Vesta that you have to thank because they manage that land trust. And thank you for your compliment, Rick. I'm quite sure Ginger is very pleased to hear that. It's been a hard year for, and I'm going to make a comment, it's been a hard year for the employees of Vesta and trying to keep on and up on what's going on with COVID and the rules and regulations. And I know Matt, who I called up here earlier, would get hundreds of emails a day and phone calls from residents concerned, when are you opening Kings Point, or why are you opening Kings Point? What are you doing in Kings Point? We tried to eliminate some of that by saying, let's open Kings Point, let's open it now. Now the question Matts are getting is, okay, when is the shows coming back? When is the movies coming back? it is like an unending cycle for Matt, and I know Matt reaches out to numerous residents when he gets emails and questions to try and converse with him. But basically, Vesta did a super job, and they continued to work through COVID, and that's why the clubhouse is as you see. And if you haven't driven by the South Clubhouse, it is a new color. It is much more updated. They're putting the new roof on. And Rick, I really appreciate that you, because we've heard from many residents how much they enjoy seeing the outside of that clubhouse and what it looks like and how it improves the community. So thank you very much, Rick. I appreciate it. Any other announcements? Then with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting. Rick Massame, can I have a second? Vicki? All in favor, say aye. Meeting is adjourned.